The first time she saw him, it wasn't in the real world. It was in her dreams, a place that felt too vivid to be just imagination. There was a silver moon, hanging low in the sky, the air shimmering like it was made of quiet music. She stood in a field of soft white flowers that moved like water when the wind touched them, and there he was. The man. He didn't speak. He only stood a few feet away, watching her as if he had been waiting for centuries. His eyes were calm, deep, and strangely familiar. She couldn't explain it, but she felt she had known him forever. Every time she dreamed of him, it felt more real than the last. His face became clearer, the air warmer, his presence stronger. She started to remember little details, the way his voice might sound, though he never said a word. The way he seemed to glow faintly, as if the moonlight belonged to him. When she woke up each morning, her heart would race and her hands would shake. She tried to tell herself it was just a dream, a strange fantasy her mind had created. But the feeling stayed with her through the day, a soft ache in her chest, a whisper that told her this means something. By the third week, she started to wait for him at night. She would close her eyes and try to find the same dream again. Sometimes she did, sometimes she didn't. But when she did, he was always there, silent, patient, almost protective. She would try to speak, but no sound came from her lips. And then one night everything changed. In the dream, the air felt different. The sky was darker, filled with heavy stars that pulsed like hearts. She stood in the same field, but the flowers were gone. The ground glowed faintly beneath her feet. She looked around and saw him again, the man from all her dreams. But this time he stepped closer. She wanted to move, to run, but she couldn't. Her body felt both light and heavy at the same time. The man stopped only a breath away. She could see every line of his face now, the curve of his lips, the shadow of a scar along his jaw, the way his eyes shimmered like they were holding galaxies. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded like it came from everywhere. The wind, the sky, the earth beneath her. "You already know who I am," he said softly. Her breath caught in her throat. She didn't. And yet, something deep inside her stirred, something ancient, something that whispered, "Yes, you do." "I don't understand," she whispered. "Who are you?" He smiled slightly, like someone remembering a secret. "You called me," he said. "You called me here." Her eyes widened. I didn't." He tilted his head gently. "You did, though not with words. Your soul remembers even if your mind does not." A cold shiver ran down her spine. The dream felt too real, his words too sharp, too alive. She tried to wake up, but she couldn't. The world around them pulsed with light, and the wind carried voices, whispers she couldn't quite understand. "Why me?" she finally asked. "Because you asked for truth," he said simply. "And truth always comes." She stepped back, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. "What truth?" He reached out a hand, but didn't touch her. The air between them shimmered like heat. "That we are not strangers," he said. "You have seen me before, not only in dreams. Long ago, in another life, under another name." She felt tears sting her eyes without knowing why. The words felt like a memory, one she had lost. Her chest tightened. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned his gaze toward the glowing horizon. The moon had grown larger, brighter, until it filled the sky. Its light washed over them both, and suddenly she felt weightless, like she was being pulled into something beyond the dream. Her vision blurred. She heard his voice again, closer now, almost inside her mind. "When the time comes," he said, "you'll remember everything. Until then, keep your heart open." She tried to hold on to his image, to his voice, but the world started fading. The light turned to mist, and his face began to dissolve with it. She reached for him, her fingers brushing nothing but air. "Wait," she cried. "Don't go!" His final words echoed faintly through the silence. "I never leave. You'll see me again, and when it's time." Then she woke up. Her room was dark and quiet. The clock read 3:03 a.m. Her body was shaking, her skin damp with sweat. She sat up, pressing her hand against her chest, trying to steady her breath. It was just a dream. That's what she wanted to believe. But the words he spoke still echoed inside her, too clear to forget. She turned on the lamp and looked around. Everything seemed normal. Her books, her desk, the half-open window letting in the cool night air. And yet, something was different. She could still feel him, the warmth of his presence, like invisible hands resting over her heart. Her eyes fell to her wrist. For a second, she thought she saw something faint glowing under her skin, a thin golden line circling it like a ring of light. She blinked and it was gone. She whispered to herself, "You already know who I am." The words felt sacred, dangerous, true. From that night on, she couldn't escape him. He was in every dream, every shadow, every heartbeat that echoed in the quiet. The more she tried to forget, the more she felt the pull, a thread connecting her to something she couldn't see, something older than memory, and somewhere deep inside her soul. She knew the truth she was too afraid to say aloud. The man from her dreams was real, and her destiny had already begun. For days after the dream, she couldn't think of anything else. The man's words haunted her. "You called me here." She tried to live normally, go to work, talk to friends, pretend she was fine. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face again, the glow of his eyes, the calm weight of his presence. It wasn't just a dream anymore. It felt like a warning, or a promise. One evening, she stayed late at the small library where she worked. The building was quiet, the kind of silence that hums against your skin. The power flickered once, and she laughed softly to herself. "Great," she murmured. "Just what I need, a haunted library." But then she felt it. That same pull, that invisible thread tightening in her chest. Her breath caught. The air changed. It felt heavier, electric, like the moment before lightning strikes. She turned slowly, and there he was. The man from her dreams, standing between the tall shelves of books, half hidden in the dim light. For a second she couldn't move. Every thought left her mind. She could hear only her heartbeat pounding against her ribs. It was him. The same eyes, the same calmness, the same energy that had filled her dreams. She whispered, almost afraid to speak, "It's you." He nodded once, his gaze steady. "It's me." Her knees went weak. This can't be real." "It's as real as the air you breathe," he said softly. "You called me and I came." Her mouth went dry. "I didn't." "You did," he said again, stepping closer. His voice was gentle but carried weight, as if the truth itself moved through it. "Not with your voice, with your soul." She backed away slightly, trying to make sense of everything. "Who are you?" He paused, eyes flickering like candlelight. "Someone you once loved. Someone bound to you by a promise made long before this life." The words sent a shiver through her. "Bound?" He took another step toward her. "By the sacred law." Her brows furrowed. "What sacred law?" "The law written before time began," he said. "The law that binds souls who recognize each other beyond life, beyond memory. You saw me in your dreams because your heart remembered what your mind forgot." She shook her head, her eyes glistening. "That doesn't make sense." He smiled faintly. "It doesn't have to. It only has to feel true." Something inside her shifted, a pull deep in her chest, like a locked door slowly opening. A wave of memories not her own brushed against her mind, flashes of another place. Another time, standing beside him under the same moon, wearing clothes from centuries ago. Her hand in his. She gasped, clutching her heart. "What was that?" "Memory," he said. "Yours, ours." Tears welled in her eyes. "Who were we?" He looked down for a moment, his voice almost a whisper. "We were two souls who defied heaven to be together. When we died, our bond was not broken. It was sealed." Her body trembled. "You mean—" "Yes," he met her gaze. "According to the sacred law, you are my wife. Not by paper, not by name, but by destiny." Her mind spun. The rational part of her wanted to run, to deny it all. But her heart already knew. It was the same warmth she had felt in every dream, the same peace and gravity that made her soul hum with recognition. She whispered, "If this is true, why now? Why have you come back?" He hesitated. The moonlight through the window caught his face, making him look both real and unreal at once. "Because it's time," he said. "You're awake now, and I can't return to the place I came from until you remember who you are to me." She stepped closer, her fear slowly fading into something else. Wonder. And what happens then? He smiled, not with his mouth, but with his eyes, warm and infinite. Then we begin again. Silence filled the room. The air between them shimmered faintly, just like it had in her dreams. She could feel her pulse in her fingertips. Slowly, almost without thinking, she reached out and touched his hand. The moment her skin met his, the world shifted. The library vanished. They stood beneath the same silver moon from her dreams. The field of white flowers swayed around them again, glowing softly. She looked down. She was wearing a long white gown, simple and ancient. He was dressed in dark robes, embroidered with golden lines that pulsed faintly with light. She gasped. "We're back," he nodded. "This is where we ended, and where we begin." Images flooded her mind, laughter, vows whispered under that very moon, hands clasped as the stars watched. The moment of separation, when death took them, and their promise to find each other again, no matter how many lifetimes it took. Tears streamed down her face. "I remember," he smiled, brushing her cheek with his hand. His touch was warm, steady, real. "I knew you would." They stood there, time suspended, their hearts beating in rhythm. She could feel the truth deep inside her bones now, the kind of truth that didn't need proof or reason. Her voice trembled as she said, "You're the man I saw in my dreams." And according to the sacred law, he finished for her, softly, "You are my wife." The words echoed through the night, like a spell being completed. The moonlight brightened, wrapping them in gold and silver. The ground beneath them glowed, and the flowers turned toward them as if the earth itself recognized their reunion. He took her hand again, and this time she didn't let go. The air was full of warmth and music, the same soundless song that had followed her through every dream. As they stood beneath the sacred moon, she whispered, "Will I lose you again?" He smiled. "Not this time. The circle is complete." And as the wind carried their laughter into the stars, she knew he was telling the truth, because this wasn't the end of a dream. It was the beginning of eternity.